Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time of coming across my video, thanks for stopping by. I hope you subscribe and you watch this video to the end. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft a princess that's bustier. So let's get right into the video. On the screen now are the measurements I'll be using for this tutorial. I have my bust measurement, my waist, shoulder, half length, shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and my bust span measurement. So I have my pattern paper folded into two, and I'll go ahead to mark my vertical measurement. I'm going to mark from the shoulder to the bust, from the shoulder to the under bust, then from the shoulder to the waist. This is a half scale bodice. Please note that you don't necessarily have to have your pattern paper on fold. I folded it for the sake of tutorial, just because I'm going to open it up when I'm done drafting. So now I'm going to go ahead and rule out the lines I marked. The next step now is to take out my shoulder measurement. After taking my shoulder measurement, I'm going to take my chest line measurement, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Please note that I always add 1 inch extra to take out my shoulder slant, and for the front I take out 1.5 inches for the front shoulder slant. Then for the back I take out 1 inch. So to create the neckline, I'm just going to mark the standard 3x3 measurements, which is 3 inches for the width and 3 inches for the depth, and I'm going to connect it. Then I'll take out my shoulder slant for the front, which is 1.5 inches, and I'll connect it to the neck width. Then to create the armhole, I'm going to mark out what I have here and divide it into 2. Then I'm going to mark 0.75 inch into the pattern, and I'm going to create my armhole. I'm going to mark out my bust circumference at the chest line in order for me to create the armhole. Now that I'm done creating the armhole, I'm going to come to the M, which is the waistline. I'm going to mark my bust span. I'm going to take half of my bust span measurement. My bust span is 7 inches, so I'm going to mark 3.5. So on the center front, I'm going to mark 1 inch, and on the side front, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. This is just a standard for the on the bust tightening. If you're working for a bigger size, you can add extra half inch at the side front. So I'm going to connect from the under bust to the bust point using the cover part of my pattern master, and I'll do the same for the other side, which is the center front. After connecting, I'm going to come over to the bust point and go up by ½ inch. This is to avoid the bust part to be too pointy when I'm done sewing. So I'm going to come over to the armhole and mark out what I have. I'm going to mark it out to where the armhole stops. Then I'm going to mark out half of that measurement I have. Just half of the measurement. I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to connect it to the 1 inch I marked above the bust point. At this part, you don't need to make the lines to be too curvy. Your princess seam line does not have to be too curvy in order to avoid smile lines. You can see the part of the curve ruler I'm using now. I didn't make it too curvy. So at this part, I'm going to mark 0.75 inch upwards, and I'll do the same at the other side. This is to create the armhole tightening. I'm going to mark 0.75 on both sides. Please note the way I placed my tape. This used to be a very big mistake when I was learning how to make princess darts bustier. I'm gonna have to connect the darts I took out to the ½ inch above the bust line. The next thing for me to do is to extend this line. Then I'm going to mark the 1.5 inches armhole tightening at that point. This is to avoid shortage. I'll come to the bust area and mark the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new armhole. So at this point, I'm just blending the sharp point. If you notice, some parts are actually pointed, which is not supposed to be so. So I'm just going ahead to use my pencil to blend it in. You can also do the same for your pattern. So at this point, I'm going to add 1.5 inches as my seam allowance. Then I came to the waist and took the waist measurements and I replaced that. Then I added my seam allowance. So I'm just going to connect from the waist to the bust point. So this pattern is going to have a closed bust dart. So I'm going to come to my bust line. Then I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches and connect it to my bust point. The next step now is for me to go ahead and cut out my pattern. Please take note of the way I'm going to be cutting out the pattern. So at this part, I'm going to be closing my bust dart. So I went ahead to the center front and cut out the center front first. Note the way I am cutting it. Note the way I am cutting the armhole. Remember that we have a new armhole. So I'm going to cut out the center front and I'm cutting out the neckline at this point, and I'll cut away the shoulder slant. So now I'm going to proceed to cut out the side front. After cutting it out, I'm going to close my bust dart. So now I'm just going to finish up with the cutting of the side front. So this is what the pattern looks like when I was done cutting it out, and I've also closed the bust dart. Can you see how the princess dart came out? A princess dart bustier, the way it came out, so beautiful. If you enjoyed this video, please kindly drop a like and a comment in the comment section, and also share it to your friends. And if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. See you in my next video. Thanks for watching.